on.
It's on.
1, 2, 3, 4. Hey.
So, can you talk to me about growing up in Sweden and when you first discovered your love of music?
Oh my god. I mean, I think people often ask what's the deal with the Swedish pop scene?
Yeah.
Like the music scene in general. There's like so much music coming from there for being such a small country. And I think that really affected the way I felt growing up. Like being successful in music felt like a possible thing. Like people like Robin, for instance. I like grew up listening to her.
Yeah, she's one of your major influences.
Yeah, like I grew up listening to her, and for example, and I think like having people that has like done stuff before you, it really does a great deal.
Like kind of like a blueprint to like follow.
It like opens doors.
Yeah.
Like for every people who does something, there will be more people that tries it afterwards, and I think that's the case with Sweden. Like there's so many great producers and writers as well coming from there because it feels like an option because there are people who have done it before.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then that takes you to, I know, the Swedish Idol. Was that something you decided to do, or was your family, like, were you singing around that time and your family kind of like told you, hey, this is something you might be interested in? Or?
No, like I never planned to do it.
Okay.
I was just 16 when I entered.
Yeah.
So I was really young, and it was definitely not a plan of mine. They do this thing like they got an anonymous tip, so they called and like asked if I wanted to come to this like special edition.
Yeah.
And they had to do some like convincing because I wasn't sure. I had like a jazz band and stuff. Like I was still in school, but I tried and it like went well. And then I've just been going since then.
It's actually interesting too, because like next year is going to be like the 10-year anniversary since then.
I know, it's crazy. I feel so old when I think about that, but I'm only 26.
You're still,
or I'm only 25, so it's like,
yeah, right?
it's fine.
So when it came to crafting the debut album, I know you're now on your third album.
Yeah.
But for every artist, the first debut album is really important. How were you then when you were crafting that?
I mean, for me, the first album was very much a learning experience. That's where I did, like, what most people do when they're still in school. Like, you try things. You write your first song. You start a band. You try stuff. Maybe you start trying to produce a little bit and you put up stuff on SoundCloud. Like that phase that everybody goes through when you start out. I did that with my first album. So the first song I ever wrote is like on there. I didn't even try to write before that. And I ended up writing most of the stuff on the first album. So that was very much about learning and just what do you do when you mix? Like what is this? What is mastering? Like what goes into making an album? Making the artwork, like everything, videos. And so to me, the second album, Kiddo, almost feels more like my debut because with that album I had a vision of what I wanted to do. And I put it together myself, and I am still so... I'm proud of all my albums, and the first one as well. Like, I look back at that, and I'm like, I can't believe I made that when I was 17.
And we're 2 years away from being 10 years to that too.
Yes, and I still like a lot of those songs. I still play some of those songs live. But Kiddo feels more like my actual like
debut.
My first album, like the first album I made. I had like a whole
vision
thing, and I love the album so much. And then moving on to Sway, I feel like I gained so much confidence making Kiddo.
Yeah.
That put me in a really good place for making Sway. I don't think like I would never have written these songs. I would never have been able to make this album earlier. It just everything was just like sort of in its right.
And it's interesting.
place.
And it's interesting too with your debut and Kiddo. There's this 5-year gap when you're making the EPs, but with this album, there's only 2-3 years.
Yeah, I still think that's a pretty long time.
Yeah,
Like, I took my time.
I think a lot of your fans were kind of saying, "Where's the music? Where's the music?"
Yeah. But they're also, I love my fans and the people who listen to my music because they have always been very patient with me. Because I like taking my time. I need to like know what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. I need to have like the whole plan in my head for it to come out right. But I'm gonna try and be more consistent now and not take any like breaks between albums. Just like.
Do you feel any pressure with this new like streaming world? A lot of people like releasing constantly. But
it's crazy.
For you, you're taking your time. But do you feel the pressure?
I mean, not too much actually, because one thing that I chose to do with Sway, for instance, was to keep it very short. Like it's only 8 tracks, short and sweet. And that way I could put it out without it taking ages, but I could still spend a lot of time on each track and make sure that each track was like the perfect thing, like the best thing that it could be. And I think I like working that way, like focusing on each song and like really like try and perfect it as much as I can rather than put out a lot of songs.
When did you know like this was the time to release Sway after the years that you've been building upon this record?
I just tried to get it done as fast as I could. Okay. So like as fast as it was finished really. Because I was also, like some of the songs, because it took like 1.5 years to make.
Yeah.
Like Say My Name, by the time I was finished with the album, was like, had this for a long time. Yeah. It needs to like, this album, this compilation of songs, it needs to get out now.
Yeah. And when it comes to the Liability cover, was that the first song that you wanted to cover by Lorde that you really fell in love with, or were there other songs by Lorde that you kind of covered?
It's the first. I've only done 2 covers ever. I did Baby One More Time.
Yeah, it was pretty.
A couple of years back, yeah. And then Liability. I wanted to do that one. There's a bunch of Lorde songs that I really love.
What drew you into that record?
I mean, it's just something special with that song. Like the moment I heard it, it just really resonated with me. It's something about it that makes it feel like, to me when I heard it, it was almost like, oh my god, I can't believe I didn't write this, because it feels so much like me.
Yeah.
Like it feels, I see these images in my head when I hear it, and it just feels like it's my story. And what's cool about that song is that a lot of people like that song in particular. Like you should have seen when she performs that one.
Yeah,
like people love it.
Yeah.
And they didn't even release it as like a big single. She just like dropped it a little bit like in between, and then it like became a really big song. And I think it has something. It's something about that song. She just really managed to put words on something that a lot of people, especially young people, I think, can see themselves in.
Yeah. So not only is it like incredible that you got to open up for her, it must have been amazing for you to kind of tell her all of this stuff doing the cover. How was that?
Yeah, I was a little bit like scared doing it because I admire her so much, and I really love her work. So I sent it to her for like, I wanted to make sure that she liked it, because if she wouldn't, I wouldn't even have put it out. But she loved it, so I was like, yes, okay, good. And I even performed it on the tour, which was also a little bit like, but it worked out so well, because I mean, it's such a different version, and it felt like the audience really appreciated it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know you also opened up for Katy Perry. That's another moment right there.
That was crazy.
Right?
Like, I mean, this whole year has been such a. I feel like this whole year has been a long pinch me in the arm moment.
Am I dreaming?
Yeah, it's so crazy. Like the Katy tour that production is massive. I mean, she's got planets coming down from the ceiling. Like it's insane. And she's like flying on a big planet, playing guitar in a bedazzled suit. Like everything is so like it's so much, and it was just so great to get to see that up close and get to know these people that I really admire and look up to, and to see that they're like, oh, thank you so much, and to see like all the work they put in, because they work really hard every day, and it takes so much to put on a show like these artists do, and it's just so inspiring.
So what kind of advice did like Lord and Katy Perry give to you during the tour?
I really think that the biggest thing I took away from it was this sort of like, it was just so cool for me to see that it's actually possible, like doing big tours and playing arenas all of a sudden became something that's not just
like it's
a dream.
Yeah.
It's actually something that you can do. You can get there if you work hard. It's possible, and I think that changed me actually. Yeah.
And so now you're about to embark on your own tour.
Yes.
How are you feeling about that?
I'm so excited. Like having gone on these support shows, which has been like, it's been amazing and some of the best experiences of my life. But I really can't wait to get out on the road and like do my full show, like bring the whole album, the whole like vibe of Sway to a stage.
Yeah.
And have like a full night that's just me. What I love.
It must be an amazing feeling to go from being a supporting act to being the headliner.
Yeah.
And how are you feeling about performing these songs live too? Just like for your fans, like directly.
I love that, because the shows are like, that's where we get to live with the music. That's where we really get to experience it.
Yeah.
And meet and connect with the music. Because I mean, a live show, it's 50-50, me and the audience. Like the work that's being done. It's really this like back and forth, like just passing the energy back and forth. And I love it. I also love that when I do shows, I can actually meet people. I can talk to them and see, like, really meet them and get to know them, which is so, it means a lot to me to actually have that contact with my fans.
Now you just said you just arrived in Toronto.
Yes.
How are you feeling being here for the first time? The energy of the city.
It feels great, like, because I've played Vancouver before, and that's always been great.
Yeah.
So I have like
The Canadian.
I'm like, I feel like Canada is a good place for me.
It's a great place.
Yeah, it is, right. You have really great food. I've already like tried some ramen. You got good things going here.
It's incredibly multicultural here.
Yeah, I love it. You can always like, I think food is like a good way to tell what kind of city it is you're in. In fact, the food is really great. It's often a fun place to be.
Yeah, for sure. On that topic, how's Swedish food?
How's Swedish food?
How's Swedish food?
It's weird to everybody who's not used to it. Like Swedes eat a lot of savory breakfast, for instance. A lot of people think that's weird. And like savory candy.
Yeah.
All of that stuff.
The sweets.
Yeah. But salty.
So, finally, you've taken 3 years to make this new album from Kiddo. When could you envision the next project coming out for your fans?
I think if I manage to multitask a little bit, the next weeks, I'm gonna put something new out this year. But like a full album or an EP, I can't tell yet because I need to really like.
You got the shows.
Yeah, I need to focus on them and then like go back to the studio beginning of next year and really like
dive in.
Yes.
All right, that's perfect.
Well, awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
No problem.